What's up, guys? Welcome back to Maestro Vapes, all right? Today, we're going to compare the Sigelei 100W to the IPV3 in a death match. Well, not really, but we're going to compare the two boxes and kind of see what might be better for you, okay? First things first, okay? Let's get into it. I'm not going to do a close-up of this. I'm not going to show you the screen and how it works. There's a million of those videos out already. We're just going to talk about some of the differences and what I like and what I don't, okay? Couple of things. First things first, aesthetics. You know, a lot of us buy box mods or buy tube mods or whatever mod you're vaping on because of the aesthetics, the way that it looks, okay? If you're looking at these two boxes, I gotta say that the IPV3 is much more pleasing to the eye than the Sigelei 100W. The boxes that I'm looking at today are the original Sigelei 100W. It's not the Plus version. We'll talk some more about the Plus as well. This is the IPV without the update, okay? We'll talk about the update later, charging, all that stuff, okay? But it is a better looking box. The IPV3 has the beveled edges. It has little cutouts. It just looks better. The Sigelei is just kind of a box. Like, it looks like a box. It looks like a 20-pack of cigarettes. That's what it is, you know? But that's not all that there is to these boxes. There's a lot of other things going on. If we're going to talk about preferences in firing this thing, I would say the Sigelei definitely. The firing button on the Sigelei is much bigger, nicer to push on than the firing button on the IPV, which is this tiny little, you know, child's nipple that you got to push on, you know? It's just a little hard to get at. You get used to firing it, but, you know, it'd be nicer if it was this button right here. Like, if I could marry these two mods together and make one, I would, and it would be phenomenal. The screen layouts. The screen layouts on the Sigelei, it's really nice. It's got all of your info on there. It's got the battery percentage, which I think is really cool. If you're looking at the IPV, it's a really nice digital readout on it, but there's no battery percentage. It just kind of has a bar on there. So you don't know if you're at, you know, 70% or 80% or where you really are on that guy. Now, I'm firing both of these at pretty much the same wattage, although the builds are a little bit different. Got a Mutation X on the Sigelei, and I've got the Hobo version 2.1 on the IPV, okay? Now, let's take it back a bit. You know, I've been using these for about the last 3 weeks now, okay? When I first got them, you know, they come in these boxes. I'll even show you the boxes they come in, all right? The IPV comes in this massive box from Pioneer for You, Shenzhen Greenleaf Technology, and the Sigelei comes in a much smaller box. Both of them are decent. Both of them have manuals that are a little bit better written than they used to be on Chinese-made mods. The Sigelei has a screwdriver, which comes with some extra pins in it, which is pretty cool. Comes with some extra stuff. And it's a nice clean box, okay? The IPV box is pretty big. Comes with a USB cable, so if you want to connect it to your laptop, your computer, and do updates, you can with that cable. It is not a charging cable, however, okay? It also comes with 2 extra screws in there, and that's it, okay? So nothing too exciting in the box, but then again, this is not a review. This is a comparison video. The guys at Happy Vapor were nice enough to let me use both of these boxes. Sylvana, Jack, Manuel, Sean, everybody over there. I want to shout them out big time because they're very supportive of the channel. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, layout of the screen, though. Let's get back into it. Layout of the screen. I dig the layout on the Sigelei much better. You know, it's kind of a quadrant, kind of boxy look, but it's pretty cool. Like, it shows you everything that you need. The IPV has a much cleaner look. It's nicer to look at, but it depends on what you like, right? Like, you might like this compared to that. Who knows, right? What do you like? Firing it, they both hit pretty good. They both hit pretty good. When I first got it, I was using the IPV and the IPV alone. That's the first thing that I put batteries into because aesthetically to my eye, it just looked a little bit better. But as I used the Sigelei more and more and more, I liked it. Like I was liking the Sigelei a lot more than I was liking using the IPV. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, the charge door. There's screws that come on this. You take them out and you can just take it off, pull your batteries out, charge them, put in a fresh set, and you're good to go. Okay? On the IPV, there's Allen bolts that you have to take out. It's kind of a pain in the ass. It's not a big burden, but it is a burden nonetheless, okay? When I fire the Sigelei, it feels like the response time for firing is a little bit quicker than the IPV. So when I fire the Sigelei, it's almost immediate. But when I fire the IPV, it feels like there's a delay, like it's trying to, tell it what to do before it actually fires, or make sure that the resistance is okay before it fires. So it has this like half-second delay that I have to pause for. So I'll hit it and I'll start vaping like a second later. Both of them hit well. Like they both hit well. And a lot of people are probably saying that, you know what, the IPV is 150 watts. It's better. Well, you know what? You're not going to utilize that wattage unless you're building very low. The only time I go above 100 watts on the IPV is when I have a build in there that's like a 0.12 ohm build. That's the only time that I need to utilize it. But if I was using 0.2 ohm builds on both of these, or a 0.3, 0.5, whatever, I'm never going to go over 100 watts. I'm never going to go over 100 watts. Now, it's nice because if I have like a 0.12 ohm build that I'm vaping on one of my mechs, I can put it on the IPV, vape it at like 120, and I get a decent vape, whereas I might max out the Sigelei. Okay, so if you want to push the wattage, your resistance of your builds is lower and you want to utilize that wattage, you can. Okay, you really, really can. The buttons on both, I dig the ones on the Sigelei a little bit better than the ones on the IPV. I just feel like they're nicer and easier to find and to grab and push on. Whereas, yeah, these guys are like little tiny buttons and it's just awkward. You get used to it and the press on the buttons is really nice compared to this guy. The Sigelei, one thing that I had about 2 days into using it, the firing button started moving around on me. Like it started backing out a bit, and then I got freaked out because you take that back door off and it's like, where do you go? Like there's some screws in there and you could take those screws out, but not the whole unit is going to come out. Like it's wired in there, so it's difficult to user service, right? So I found that I could just turn the button. I could just turn it clockwise, 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 and after a while it would tighten. Now I tightened it up pretty good and it's in there now. Like it's not moving around now, and it might just be the one that I have, okay? But the firing button on this one is decent. Vape's really good, 77.2 watts. And this one's, 77.2. This one's 76.2. So they're pretty close, okay? A couple of things I don't like, okay? Don't like taking the back panel off this to take the batteries out. You can charge this externally, okay? And Happy Vapor was cool enough to send me a 9-volt charger that you could use with it, okay? This is an Atari Link System charger from, 1990, and I'm sure that it works to use it. The specs are, AC 120 volts, 60 hertz, 15 watts, and it outputs at 1 amp, DC current of 9 volts. Now, I'm sure that you could use 9-volt chargers that are like this, But I've read a bunch of bad stuff about using that charger, and I was watching Grim Green's vlog, and he had gotten an email from somebody saying that if you use the AC charger to charge your batteries in your IPV3, there is a chance, if you're not using a Sony VTC battery, that your device could blow up. Okay? Not like something could fry, not like the board could fry, but it could potentially blow up. Like, that is pretty brutal. So I've always taken the batteries out of this guy to charge. Okay, that's kind of a freaky thing. And I know some of the vendors that are out there in brick and mortar shops that had these IPV3s, they actually recalled them, gave people credits on them because they did find out that there were problems with charging, and there was problems with the contacts. Some people had problems with the contacts getting hot, which could melt the wiring in it and cause some pretty bad shit to happen, you know? And stuff that's like, personally, you could harm yourself, you know what I mean? So the IPV3 really takes a kick in the can on that note, okay? If I'm using this guy, I always take the batteries out. I charge them in my charger. I use a Digicharger. That's what I do. Digicharger, D4 charger, Nightcore, and it works well. And I use batteries that are kind of married to one another. I have a pair of Samsung 25Rs that I use. I think they're in, no, they are in the IPV. And I've got 2 sets of Sony VTC4s that are paired up. So I have 3 sets of batteries that kind of just cycle between the boxes, okay? I also have a set of purple EFS batteries that I can cycle into it too. But according to some of those statements, if I were to use, you know, a different type of battery, or I used an LG, there is a potential for, you know, catastrophic things to happen with the IPV, okay? Which freaks me out, okay? Big downside on it. Another thing that kind of freaks me out about the IPV is they left that touch sensor on there, like the touch sensor that was on the IPV2. You could fire it. People were having it auto fire. If there was a dab of juice or some finger sweat or something on there, it could auto fire. Well, it's been disabled on this guy, but they left it on there and just used the boxes, okay? Now, I get that you want to use up the old stock that you have, but maybe if you're going to launch a new product, then launch it with the new design. And then put, you know, the ones with the sensors on Alibaba or Fast Tech and sell them at a reduced price. You know, that's the way I see it. And another downside with the Sigelei is that after they launched the 100 watt, you know, like a month went by, 2 months went by, and they launched the 100 watt plus, which looked kind of a little bit more like the IPV3, had the beveled edges on it. It's like, what the shit, man? Like, you just launched this, a lot of people bought it, and you're putting out an upgraded version, you know, like with a better button on it, beveled edges, it looks sharper. It's like, come on, guys, you know. So both of these boxes kind of take a hit, you know, both of them take a hit. Sensor making a revised version right away, it's kind of cheesy. Both of these boxes use the SX330 chip, which is a good chip, the Yeehee chip, and I find that it works really well. I haven't had any problems using the chip. I've fired fairly low on these, okay? And like I said, this is not the Plus version, and I didn't update the IPV. Now, another thing with the IPV is the update. A lot of people were updating it. Now, the update, you can push it another 15 watts. So you can take your 150 watt device and turn it into a 165 watt device. So you're pushing an extra 15 watts. Very cool. And you had the ability to, instead of having like 0.1 ohm or 0.2 ohm, it would show you 2 decimal points. So it could show you like 0.15 if that was your build, or 0.54 if that was your build, which is really cool. And I think it's really it's needed, you know. I think it's really needed so you can kind of see what's going on, you know, and I think it's just neat to have stuff like that. But a lot of people were updating their device, and what would happen is their atomizer, their resistance would just go back and forth. Like it'd be like a zero point 0.4 ohm load, and then it'd go up to like 0.21, and it would just fry the coil. Like it would just burn their cotton, and that would suck, you know. I was told, I actually text messaged Trevor Jones, and I was like, dude, I got an IPv3 like a day after he told me he was getting one, and I asked him if I should update it. He's like, yeah, dude, update it. But then he posted on his Facebook that he updated it. There were some problems. He was kind of ticked off about it, but he was able to reboot it and reinstall the software again, and it worked just fine. So if you're having problems with your IPv3 and your update, just go back, reinstall it, and it should be okay. But that's kind of a bummer. That's kind of a bummer, you know? Contacts, because this thing hits, the Sigelei hits kind of quicker, in my personal opinion. Like it's more instantaneous. And the IPV is kind of delayed. There it is. I feel like it might be because of the contacts. You know, I feel like it has a little bit to do with it. The chipset is the same. Realistically, these chips should work exactly the same. But the contacts in the Sigelei are copper. You know, and it's really nice. Got my batteries in there, but take my word for it, they're copper in this guy. And it just feels like a cleaner, purer vape in my personal opinion, okay? It really, truly does. It just feels like a lot nicer to vape this guy. And I put the door on all janky, so now I'm like a knob. But, oh, I put it on backwards. But it feels like a cleaner, purer vape, and I just dig it a little bit better. Price point. Looking at price point, the IPv3 is a little bit more expensive than the Sigelei. It is. I know you could find these at different prices here and there, and they do vary a lot. And I'm sure because of the 100-watt Sigelei Plus that came out, that you could probably find this guy for under $100 right now. I'm sure you could find this for $89 right now. So for price point, Sigelei 100-watt all the way. It is just kind of a box to look at. Like, it's not too exciting. It's like a deck of cards, you know? It's not really exciting to look at. Maybe if you were kind of creative, you could put a wrap on it. You could put like a carbon fiber wrap on it, and it would look sharp. You could probably bevel your own edges into it with a sander too if you really wanted to, okay? So it's been a tough one for me. It's been really tough between these two mods to pick something that I just like so much better, okay? If I could take the good and the bad of both of these boxes and make one box, I would. You know, if I could get rid of the screws on the IPV, put the magnets in it, it would be awesome. You know, the seam, there's a seam on the door that you can see on the IPv3. If I could get rid of it and have that door kind of recessed just like the Sigelei, like the door on the Sigelei just sits into the body and it's not there on the outside, that would be boss on the IPV. If I could take a larger firing button like this one and put it on here, I would. Get rid of this infrared sensor, which is pointless. That would be dope. Actually, I'm probably taking, you know, the concepts from the IPV that I like to put onto the Sigelei, which becomes the Sigelei Plus. Okay? Really, it becomes the Sigelei Plus at that point. So yeah, if you're thinking about one of these mods, I would probably go with the Sigelei 100-watt Plus. Okay? It's a cheaper option, hits really well. You're probably never going to need to go over 100 watts. You know, unless you're putting your builds that are like 0.1 ohm, 0.12 ohms onto your IPV. Like, that's the only time you're going to need to exceed the 100 watts, okay? So Sigelei for me is the winner, but it's not by a landslide because they both are really cool boxes, you know, really cool boxes. And it's nice to have a regulated box in the mix. I'm a mech guy, you know, but if I build like a Squape or a K-Fun or I'm using the Atlantis or something like that, I can't put it on my mech and fine tune it, you know, but one of these guys can. So I don't know. I want to keep one of these guys from Happy Vapor. And right now I'm saying it's going to be the Sigelei 100W. That's what I dig better. You know, maybe you like the IPV3. And honestly, in my hand, it feels nicer. It's nicer to look at. The screen is decent on it. Like, it's a really nice LED screen, and I like it. But just slightly the Sigelei 100W takes it for me because of the magnets on the back of the door, just the large firing button on it. The display has the battery, copper contacts in it. It just feels like a better bang for the buck for me. Okay, so that's my choice. I'm picking the Sigelei, and the Sigelei Plus is probably a pretty awesome mod. So if you've been thinking about one or the other and you can grab a Sigelei Plus, pick it up. Like, you are not going to be disappointed with it whatsoever. Okay, I want to thank the guys at Happy Vapor one more time. You guys are super duper cool. Thank you very much. Check out their website. It's up above me right now. Check out their website. Super cool cats over there. I want to thank Manuel for setting up some things to help me get these boxes, and Sylvana for taking care of me, and Jack, who owns the joint, and Sean, who was always my buddy when I went in there and bought, you know, H cigar mods and stuff like that. Super cool, guys. Very, very cool. But that's it for me, man. That's it for me. Hopefully you got what you needed out of this video and it helped you out a little bit. I'm going to drip a couple more drops onto this guy and then I'm going to take it out. Sigelei 100W, see? There we go. Yeah, very nice. Either way, you're not going to be disappointed. But for me, bang for the buck, you know, like 30 bucks, 40 bucks less for the Sigelei, I would definitely go for the Sigelei, okay? But out, vape up, breathe easy, know your limits and vape within it, my friends. And you, as always, will have yourself a stellar day, all right? Maestro out. You guys have a good one. Let's take this thing up. Let's take it up to like nearing 100. Let's take it to 100 watts. Like just a boss, babe. Terrible those.